Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about a topic that could literally save your life or someone you love. Many people believe heart attacks strike suddenly and violently, but in reality, they develop silently over many years. The earliest warning signs are often subtle, vague, and easy to ignore until it's too late. That's why early recognition and timely action are absolutely critical. In this video, we'll help you understand the first warning signals your heart sends before an attack occurs. Stay with us until the end. It might be the most important video you watch this year. One of the earliest and most easily dismissed warning signs of a heart attack is unusual fatigue, a deep, lingering exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to fix. It's not the kind of tiredness you feel after a long day or a sleepless night. It's something more insidious, a sense that your body is running out of fuel, that even simple tasks suddenly feel heavier than they should. You might find yourself getting winded after climbing a single flight of stairs, carrying groceries that once felt light, or walking across a parking lot that used to be effortless. Some people describe it as if their legs have turned to lead, their chest feels heavier, or every movement requires extra effort. The biological reason behind this fatigue is both simple and alarming. When your heart starts to weaken, often years before any major event, it can no longer pump blood as efficiently. With every beat, less oxygen-rich blood reaches your muscles, brain, and vital organs. And because oxygen is the fuel that powers every cell in the body, that shortage quickly translates into a drop in energy. You might not notice it right away, but over time, this subtle lack of oxygen creates a constant feeling of sluggishness, like your body is moving through mud. In the beginning, this exhaustion often appears only during physical exertion. Maybe you feel fine sitting down, but as soon as you start moving, the fatigue hits. It's the heart's way of saying, I'm struggling to keep up. As the condition progresses, however, the fatigue doesn't wait for activity, it begins to show up even at rest. You might wake up tired, feel drained after a shower, or need to sit down more often just to catch your breath. What was once an active, energetic life gradually turns into a cautious one, where every effort requires calculation and recovery. The danger is that most people overlook or misinterpret this sign. They attribute it to getting older, working too much, or not sleeping enough. Others blame stress or poor diet, never realizing that the real problem lies deeper within the heart itself. This misunderstanding delays diagnosis, and those precious weeks or months of inaction allow the heart to deteriorate further. By the time more recognizable symptoms appear like chest pain or shortness of breath, the heart may already be under severe strain. If you or someone you love feels unusually tired for no clear reason, pay attention to when and how it happens. Does it occur more often during activity? Do you feel weak or lightheaded afterward? Does the fatigue linger even after a full night's sleep? These are not random signs, they are the body's quiet alarms, and ignoring them can be costly. Think of fatigue not as a minor inconvenience, but as a message from your heart, asking for help before it's too late. Simple steps, checking your blood pressure, getting a basic cardiac evaluation, and making small changes to diet and activity can make a profound difference. The earlier you act, the greater your chances of preventing something far more serious. Because the truth is, a heart attack doesn't start with pain, it starts with silence. And that silence often sounds like fatigue. Up next, we'll explore another subtle yet critical warning. The feeling of chest pressure or discomfort, a signal that the heart's struggle is becoming more urgent. The second warning sign that often hides in plain sight is swelling or edema in your legs, hands, or even face. It might start subtly. Your shoes feel a bit tighter than usual, your socks leave deeper marks around your ankles, or your rings suddenly seem harder to slip off. Some people even wake up noticing puffiness around their eyes or face, thinking it's just due to a salty dinner or lack of sleep. But what's truly happening inside your body may be far more serious. When the heart begins to weaken, it loses its ability to pump blood efficiently throughout the body. Blood that should be circulating freely starts to pool in the veins, especially in the lower parts of the body where gravity pulls it down the feet, ankles, and legs. As this happens, fluid from the blood seeps into the surrounding tissues, causing visible swelling. You might not feel pain at first, but the discomfort grows. Shoes that fit perfectly a week ago start to feel constricting, and walking long distances becomes tiring. This swelling isn't just a cosmetic issue. It's a warning that your circulation is slowing and that your heart is under stress. Think of it as a signal that the pump that drives life through your veins is losing its strength. Over time, this can progress into congestive heart failure, a condition where fluid not only accumulates in your limbs, but also starts to build up in your lungs. That's when breathing becomes harder, lying flat at night feels uncomfortable, and fatigue deepens not because you're tired, but because your body is drowning in its own fluids. Unfortunately, many people dismiss leg or ankle swelling as a normal part of aging or as a result of standing too long. But ignoring it allows the underlying issue, poor cardiac function, to worsen silently. By the time shortness of breath appears, the heart may already be in significant distress. So, if you've noticed unexplained swelling in your feet, hands, or face, especially if it persists or worsens by evening, don't shrug it off. Track your symptoms. Check your weight regularly, as fluid retention can cause sudden changes, and most importantly, talk to your doctor. A simple examination can reveal whether your heart is asking for help. Remember, your body always speaks before it breaks. You just have to listen. If you've ever experienced this, comment 1 below so we can raise awareness together. The third warning sign that your heart may be in trouble is shortness of breath, a symptom so common that many people mistake it for something trivial. At first, you might notice it only when climbing stairs, walking uphill, or doing light chores around the house. You pause for a moment, catch your breath, and tell yourself it's just because you're out of shape. But over time, that breathlessness begins to creep into moments of rest when you're sitting still, lying down, or even trying to sleep. You feel as though no matter how deeply you inhale, the air just doesn't seem to fill your lungs. This feeling isn't just uncomfortable, it's a red flag that your heart and lungs are under strain. When the heart becomes too weak to pump blood efficiently, it causes pressure to rise in the pulmonary veins, the vessels that carry blood from the lungs back to the heart. That increased pressure forces fluid to leak out of the veins and into the delicate air sacs of the lungs, known as alveoli. These tiny sacs are supposed to remain moist just enough to allow oxygen to pass into the blood and carbon dioxide to leave. But when they become flooded with excess fluid, this critical exchange slows down dramatically. The result is the terrifying sensation of air hunger. You're breathing, but you're not getting enough oxygen. Many patients describe it as trying to breathe through a wet sponge or as if someone is sitting on their chest. You might notice that this breathlessness worsens when lying flat because more blood flows to the chest in that position, further increasing lung congestion. Some people wake up suddenly in the middle of the night, gasping for air, a condition known as paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, which is a classic sign of heart failure. Others find they can only sleep propped up by 2 or 3 pillows to breathe comfortably, a sign that fluid buildup has reached the lungs. The danger lies in how easy it is to dismiss these symptoms. People often attribute them to aging, lack of exercise, or lung issues like asthma. But in truth, shortness of breath is one of the earliest and most urgent messages from your heart saying, "I'm struggling." Left unchecked, this can progress to full-blown congestive heart failure or a sudden heart attack. If you ever feel winded from mild activity or find yourself needing to stop and rest more often than before, listen to your body. Don't wait until breathlessness wakes you in the middle of the night. That's your body's alarm system telling you to act now. A simple cardiac checkup, an echocardiogram, or a stress test could reveal underlying heart issues before they become life-threatening. Remember, your heart and lungs work together like partners. When one begins to fail, the other suffers too. Taking early action, seeing a doctor, adjusting your lifestyle, and monitoring your breathing can make all the difference. And as we move forward, we'll explore another surprising warning sign. Sweating even when you're not exerting yourself, a silent clue that your heart may be in distress. After talking about shortness of breath, let's move to the fourth early warning sign of a heart attack: sudden sweating even when you're not physically active. This is one of the most commonly misunderstood and underestimated symptoms. Many people think sweating means they're overheated, anxious, or reacting to spicy food. But when sweat appears without exertion, especially as a cold, clammy sweat while you're sitting still or resting, it could be your heart's silent cry for help. Here's what's happening inside your body. When the heart becomes strained or starved of oxygen, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system, the body's built-in fight or flight response. This mechanism is designed to prepare you for danger. Your adrenal glands release adrenaline, your heart rate rises, blood pressure increases, and sweat glands activate. Normally, that helps you survive a threat, but when the heart is weak, This system fires even when there's no external danger. The result? Sudden, unexplained sweating, the body's reflexive signal of internal distress. What makes this so deceptive is that it feels ordinary. You might notice beads of sweat on your forehead, damp palms, or your shirt clinging to your back even in a cool room. Sometimes it's accompanied by lightheadedness, weakness, or nausea sensations people often dismiss as fatigue or anxiety. Yet doctors recognize this pattern cold, clammy sweat paired with dizziness or weakness as one of the earliest red flags of a heart attack or oxygen deprivation in the heart, cardiac ischemia. Studies from the American Heart Association reveal that over half of heart attack patients experienced unexplained sweating before or during the event. For many, it was the first and only warning sign before chest pain struck. That's why cardiologists take it so seriously. Cold sweat can appear minutes or even hours before the main heart attack begins. The science is clear. When blood flow to the heart drops, the brain interprets it as a crisis, flooding your body with stress hormones. You might feel pale, shaky, and drenched in sweat, not because you're hot, but because your body is fighting to stay alive. So imagine this. You're sitting at your desk, watching TV or waking from sleep, when suddenly you break into a cold sweat, your pulse quickens, and a strange sense of dread washes over you. That's not something to ignore. That's your body sounding the alarm. If this ever happens, especially alongside mild chest discomfort, nausea, or dizziness, don't wait. Call for medical help immediately. It's far better to be safe than sorry. If you've ever experienced something like this, comment 1 below. Your story might just help someone recognize the warning signs in time. Right after the symptom of unexplained sweating comes the 5th warning sign of heart trouble: muscle weakness and sudden loss of strength. Among all the early indicators, this one often carries the strongest message that the heart is no longer working efficiently. It signals a deeper, more systemic problem, one that affects not just your energy, but your entire ability to move, balance, and function in daily life. At first, the weakness may seem subtle. You might find yourself getting tired faster than usual while walking, climbing stairs, or carrying groceries. Tasks that once felt effortless, such as getting out of a chair, standing for long periods, or lifting light objects, begin to feel strangely difficult. Your arms may feel heavy, your legs unsteady, and your grip weaker than before. Some people describe the sensation as if their body has lost its power, or that their muscles don't respond the way they used to. The reason lies deep within the circulatory system. When the heart weakens and cannot pump enough blood, oxygen and nutrients fail to reach the muscles in sufficient quantities. Muscles rely on a constant flow of oxygenated blood to produce energy through a process called cellular respiration. When that supply is interrupted or reduced, the muscles begin to starve. Lactic acid builds up, energy stores deplete, and the fibers fatigue quickly. It's like trying to run an engine on an empty fuel tank. No matter how hard you press the pedal, it just sputters. In the early stages, this weakness may only appear during physical exertion, when you're asking more from your body than it can give. But as the condition progresses, the fatigue can strike even at rest, when your muscles should be recovering. This is a clear sign that the heart's pumping efficiency has dropped significantly, and the body is struggling to maintain blood circulation even in a calm state. What makes this symptom particularly deceptive is how easily it's dismissed. Many older adults chalk it up to just getting older, not sleeping enough, or being out of shape. But unlike ordinary tiredness, cardiac-related weakness comes from within the cardiovascular system, not from the muscles themselves. It's the difference between a healthy engine running low on gas and a failing engine that can no longer distribute power evenly. Over time, the lack of adequate blood flow leads to more than just fatigue. It begins to affect balance, coordination, and stability. You might find yourself tripping more easily or needing to hold onto furniture when standing. In severe cases, this can lead to falls, which for seniors can result in fractures or long-term disability. But at its root, the cause isn't clumsiness or weakness of the limbs, it's the heart quietly losing strength. Doctors often emphasize that this type of fatigue and weakness is one of the most underestimated early signs of heart failure. It's the body's way of saying, "I don't have enough energy to support you anymore." And while it can be subtle at first, ignoring it can have serious consequences. If you notice your energy dropping for no obvious reason, if simple chores leave you exhausted, or you can't lift things you used to take it seriously, don't wait until you collapse or faint to realize something is wrong. Get your heart function tested through an echocardiogram, ECG, or stress test to ensure your cardiovascular system is still delivering enough oxygen to your body. And remember, this isn't just about strength, it's about quality of life and survival. The earlier you identify the root cause of muscle weakness, the better your chances of recovery. Simple lifestyle changes, improving diet, gentle daily exercise, and timely medical care can make a world of difference. Up next, we'll look at another symptom that surprises many people: nausea and vomiting, a strange yet significant reaction caused by cardiac stress and the way the heart communicates with the rest of the body through the vagus nerve. After muscle weakness comes the sixth early warning sign of heart trouble: nausea and vomiting. At first glance, it might seem unrelated to the heart. After all, most people associate nausea with stomach issues, food poisoning, or indigestion. Yet, in reality, this seemingly harmless symptom can be one of the most overlooked alarms that your heart sends before a serious cardiac event. When the heart becomes strained or deprived of oxygen, it doesn't just affect the chest, it impacts multiple systems throughout the body, including the digestive tract. The key player here is the vagus nerve, one of the most important communication highways between the brain, heart, and stomach. This long nerve runs from the base of your skull, down the neck, across the chest, and into the abdomen. Its role is to help regulate critical functions such as heart rate, digestion, and breathing. However, when the heart is in distress, for instance, when it's struggling to pump blood effectively, or when oxygen levels drop, the vagus nerve becomes overstimulated. The brain receives mixed messages, interpreting the stress signals from the heart as if something were wrong in the digestive system. As a result, the body responds with nausea, dizziness, or even vomiting, even though the real issue lies in the cardiovascular system, not the stomach. This miscommunication between the heart and stomach explains why so many heart attack patients describe feeling nauseous, lightheaded, or off just before or during the event. Some even mistake it for a stomach flu, acid reflux, or an upset stomach from something they ate. But the danger lies in that very assumption, because every minute wasted treating indigestion could be the difference between survival and tragedy. Physiologically, the reason for this nausea is simple but serious. When the heart weakens, blood flow to the digestive organs decreases, reducing oxygen delivery to the stomach and intestines. At the same time, the brain's fight or flight response kicks in, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones constrict blood vessels, worsen the oxygen shortage, and heighten sensitivity in the vagus nerve. The result is an overwhelming sense of queasiness, a sick-to-your-stomach feeling that can strike out of nowhere, often accompanied by cold sweat or mild chest discomfort. Doctors emphasize that nausea during cardiac distress feels different from a normal stomach upset. It often appears suddenly, without a clear cause, and doesn't go away after resting, burping, or taking antacids. It may be accompanied by other subtle symptoms, such as cold, clammy skin, shortness of breath, weakness, or mild chest tightness. In some cases, patients report that they felt like they were coming down with the flu, only to later discover that they had been experiencing early signs of a heart attack. To make matters more confusing, women in particular are more likely than men to experience non-traditional heart attack symptoms, such as nausea, indigestion, or fatigue, without the classic crushing chest pain. This makes awareness even more important, because waiting for that dramatic movie-style heart attack moment can be fatal. If you ever feel sudden, unexplained nausea, especially if it's paired with cold sweat, dizziness, or chest pressure, do not ignore it. Sit down, stay calm, and call for emergency medical help immediately. Even if it turns out to be something minor, it's always better to rule out a heart-related cause than to take the risk of missing a critical window for treatment. Remember, every second counts. The heart doesn't shout when it's in trouble. It whispers through small, confusing symptoms like this. Listening to those whispers can save your life. After nausea comes dizziness or lightheadedness, a symptom that many people brush off as something minor, like a lack of sleep, skipping a meal, or sudden weather changes. But in truth, it's a direct signal from your heart that something is wrong. When the heart can no longer pump blood effectively, the brain, the organ that depends most on oxygen, begins to feel the impact almost immediately. That feeling of spinning, unsteadiness, or dimming vision is not random. It's your body's way of saying that oxygen isn't reaching where it needs to go. You might notice it when standing up from a chair, climbing stairs, or even turning your head too quickly, a brief rush of lightheadedness, a flicker of black in your vision, or a sense that you might faint. Many people wave it off thinking, I just stood up too fast, or I haven't eaten enough. But in reality, dizziness caused by poor circulation happens because the heart isn't pushing enough blood to the brain. Each beat is weaker than it should be, and that means less oxygen reaches your neurons. Even a few seconds of reduced blood flow can make you feel off balance, confused, or like the room is spinning. What makes this symptom especially deceptive is that it's so easy to rationalize. People assume it's dehydration, low blood pressure, or exhaustion, and sometimes it can be. But when it's recurring, especially if it happens during mild activity or without any obvious cause, it's often a warning of heart dysfunction. The circulatory system is like an electrical grid. When one area loses power, the rest starts to flicker. In this case, the brain is that flickering light, dimming because the heart can't keep the current strong enough. As this continues, the brain's oxygen levels drop more frequently and for longer periods of time. You might find yourself needing to sit down often or hold onto something for support. Some people describe the feeling as floating, while others say it feels like the floor is moving. It's unsettling, but it's also incredibly dangerous because this lightheadedness can lead to sudden fainting. For older adults, fainting isn't just about losing consciousness for a few seconds. It's about the very real risk of falling, breaking bones, or suffering a head injury, all while the heart is already struggling. Medically, this is known as syncope, a temporary loss of consciousness caused by inadequate blood flow to the brain. Doctors see it frequently in patients with heart conditions such as arrhythmia, cardiomyopathy, or heart failure. In some cases, it's the first noticeable sign that the heart is deteriorating. The moment you faint or come close to it, your brain has effectively sounded the emergency alarm. We're not getting enough oxygen. Unfortunately, many people only realize the seriousness of the situation after the first fainting episode, often ending up in the emergency room. But the body rarely fails without warning. That brief spell of dizziness, that momentary loss of vision, that subtle sway in your balance, those are all early whispers of distress. Ignoring them allows the underlying problem to grow, silently but relentlessly. If you experience this repeatedly, whether it's lightheadedness, blurry vision, or a sense that you might faint, don't brush it off. Make time to get your heart checked. A simple ECG, echocardiogram, or stress test can reveal whether your circulatory system is performing as it should. Early detection can prevent a full-blown heart attack or even cardiac arrest later on. Remember, dizziness may seem harmless, but when it stems from the heart, it's one of the body's most urgent distress calls. Every faint moment is your heart saying, I'm struggling, I need help. Quote. And if you've ever experienced unexplained dizziness or felt like you were about to pass out for no reason, comment 1 below. Your story might help someone recognize the warning signs early and take the step that saves their life. After nausea comes dizziness or lightheadedness, a symptom that many people underestimate or dismiss entirely. It's easy to assume you just stood up too quickly, didn't sleep enough, or need to drink more water. But in reality, this unsettling sensation is often one of the earliest and most important warnings that your heart is not functioning as it should. When the heart can no longer pump efficiently, the flow of oxygenated blood to the brain decreases, and your body reacts instantly. The dizziness you feel isn't random. It's your brain's cry for oxygen, and your heart's signal that something is wrong. You may experience it as a fleeting wave of faintness, a loss of balance, or a momentary dimming of vision. Some people describe it as if the world is spinning, while others say it feels like they might pass out. These episodes often occur during activities that require a sudden change in position, standing up, climbing stairs, bending over, or turning quickly. In some cases, the sensation is accompanied by cold sweat, nausea, or a rapid heartbeat. Each of these reactions reflects the same underlying issue. The heart is struggling to maintain enough blood pressure to deliver oxygen to the brain. The brain is one of the most oxygen-hungry organs in the body. Even a slight interruption in blood flow lasting just a few seconds can make you feel disoriented, weak, or close to collapsing. This condition, known as presyncope, is a precursor to syncope or full fainting. When someone faints because of heart-related dizziness, it's often because the brain was momentarily deprived of blood. This is not simply an inconvenience, it's a sign of a potentially serious cardiovascular issue. What makes this symptom particularly dangerous is how easily it's dismissed. Many older adults attribute it to aging, stress, or low blood sugar. They might pause, take a seat, and move on with their day, never realizing their heart just sent out a distress call. However, when dizziness happens repeatedly or without a clear cause, doctors take it very seriously. It could point to arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, valve disease, or early heart failure, all conditions that can lead to a full-blown heart attack if ignored. Imagine your heart as a pump that's slowly losing its strength. At first, it manages to keep up, but as it weakens, the blood pressure dips, and the brain feels the shortage first. That's when the world starts to blur. Your body isn't being dramatic, it's warning you. Every dizzy spell is a signal that your circulatory system is under strain, that the pump inside your chest is working overtime just to keep you upright. If you find yourself experiencing unexplained dizziness, don't ignore it. Take a moment to sit or lie down, breathe deeply, and once you've stabilized, schedule a checkup. An ECG, echocardiogram, or stress test could reveal the real reason and potentially save your life. Your body whispers before it screams. Dizziness may feel harmless, but it's often the first voice of a heart in distress. Listening early could mean the difference between prevention and crisis. Up next, we'll explore the 8th warning sign: chest pain and pressure, the moment when the heart finally reaches its breaking point. After severe chest pain, the 9th warning sign you must pay special attention to is pain radiating to the left arm, shoulder, neck, or jaw, a classic symptom of a heart attack. This is known as referred pain, which occurs when the nerves from the heart share the same pathway as those from the shoulder, neck, and arm, causing the brain to misinterpret the source of the pain. That's why you might feel numbness, heaviness, or a burning ache along the left arm, even though the real problem lies in the heart. Many people mistake this for muscle strain from overwork or a bad sleeping posture. However, the key difference is that heart-related pain does not ease with rest. It tends to spread, intensify, and linger. Sometimes, it may only feel like a mild tension in the shoulder or a dull ache in the neck, but in reality, it's your heart crying for help. If you ever feel pain radiating from the chest to the neck or down the arm, don't self-diagnose or wait for it to pass. Call emergency services immediately. Every minute counts. In the next part, we'll talk about the final warning sign: severe shortness of breath, when both the heart and lungs become dangerously overloaded. And if you've ever felt this kind of pain, comment 1 below, because your story might help someone recognize the signs before it's too late. Right after the pain radiating to the arm, neck, or jaw, the 9th warning sign, many people think the episode is ending. But in reality, a heart attack rarely stops quietly. It often progresses into the 10th and final warning sign: severe, persistent shortness of breath. At this stage, the heart is no longer strong enough to pump blood efficiently. As blood backs up into the pulmonary veins, fluid begins to leak into the tiny air sacs of the lungs, filling spaces that should be used for oxygen exchange. Each breath becomes harder, as if you're trying to inhale through a soaked cloth. This isn't simple fatigue, it's the body's desperate struggle to get oxygen. When fluid fills the lungs, oxygen levels in the blood plummet, and the body responds by breathing faster and harder. But the cruel paradox is that the harder you breathe, the more strain you put on the failing heart. A deadly cycle begins. The weaker the heart, the less blood it pumps. The less oxygen the body receives, the weaker the heart becomes. Without emergency intervention, this cycle can end fatally within minutes. Unlike ordinary breathlessness after exercise, cardiac shortness of breath strikes even at rest, often worsening when you lie flat. Many patients describe the feeling as drowning from the inside or being squeezed tightly in the chest. If you or someone you love experiences this kind of breathlessness, especially if it's sudden, persistent, or accompanied by chest pressure, do not wait. This is no longer an early warning. This is the heart's final cry for help. Every second counts, and taking action immediately could mean the difference between life and death. A heart attack doesn't happen in an instant. It's nurtured by years of neglect and silent stress. But the good news is, if you start changing today, your heart can still recover. Eat mindfully, move gently, sleep well, and listen to your body every day. If you want to live longer and stronger, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us in taking care of your heart before it's too late.